The community center's gymnasium is transformed into something almost unrecognizable by the simple addition of lights, music, and approximately 300 people who are dancing, talking, and existing in a space that's designed specifically for them. It's the annual Pride Gala fundraiser, a combination dance and charity event that raises money for LGBTQ+ youth services in the city. The energy is celebratory, but also deeply meaningful, because everyone here understands that this isn't just a party. It's a statement. It's a gathering of people who've decided to take up space, to be visible, to celebrate their existence in a world that doesn't always celebrate them. Ryan Chen stands at the edge of the dance floor, holding a drink he's not particularly interested in consuming, and trying to decide whether leaving early would be socially acceptable. He's been at the gala for approximately 45 minutes, which is long enough to satisfy his sense of obligation to his department's diversity initiative, but not so long that he has to actually engage deeply with the social dynamics of the event. Ryan is a police officer, a detective with the city's major crimes unit specifically. He's 34 years old, which means he's been on the force for 12 years, long enough to have earned respect through competence, and to have learned that his personal life is best kept entirely separate from his professional one. He's never discussed his sexuality with colleagues. He's never attended departmental events with a date. He's maintained a careful professional distance from his team that's kept his personal business entirely his own. But he's also been alone for a very long time. Not in a tragic way. Exactly, but in a way that's becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. He's 34 years old, and he hasn't been in a relationship since his late 20s. He has colleagues who know him as competent and reliable, but not as a complete person. He has acquaintances, but very few actual friends. He exists in a kind of careful compartmentalization where his professional self and his personal self never quite overlap. The Pride Gala is a compromise, a way to acknowledge a part of himself without fully integrating that part into his professional life. He's here, which means he's at least willing to exist in spaces where his sexuality is acknowledged. But he's also maintaining distance from the actual event, which suggests he's still not entirely comfortable. With full visibility, Ryan is thinking about the particular discomfort of being partially visible, when he spots someone across the room who makes him forget what he was thinking about entirely. The man is probably in his mid to late 30s, with dark hair that's styled with deliberate care, with the kind of face that suggests he's learned how to exist in the world with confidence. He's wearing a suit that fits perfectly, and he's dancing alone, with the kind of complete unself-consciousness that suggests he's genuinely enjoying himself rather than performing. Enjoyment for an audience. Ryan's immediate thought is that this man is beautiful in a way that goes beyond just physical attractiveness. It's the beauty of someone who knows himself, who's comfortable in his own skin, who moves through the world like he belongs there. Ryan's second thought is that he should look away before this becomes embarrassing. He doesn't look away. Instead, he watches as the man finishes his dance, laughs at something, and makes his way toward the bar. Ryan, operating on some instinct he doesn't entirely understand, finds himself also moving toward the bar. It's not a conscious decision, exactly. It's more like his body has decided that it wants to be near this man, and it's going to accomplish that regardless of what his brain thinks about it. At the bar, they end up standing next to each other. The man orders a vodka tonic. Ryan, suddenly very aware that his drink is almost empty, orders another one. First time at one of these? The man asks, apparently directing the question at Ryan. Ryan turns, and the man is looking at him with an expression of genuine interest. That obvious? Ryan asks. You have the look of someone who's maintaining a very careful distance from the actual event, the man says, and there's a kindness in how he says it. No judgment, just observation. I'm Alex, by the way. Ryan says. And they shake hands, which is such a formal gesture for a Pride event that it's almost funny. So what brings you here, if you're not here to actually enjoy the event? Alex asks. Departmental Diversity Initiative, Ryan says. I'm supposed to show up and be visible and demonstrate that my employer supports LGBTQ+ causes. Which department? Alex asks. Police, Ryan says. And there's a brief moment where he wonders if this is a mistake, if admitting this will change how Alex perceives him. It doesn't seem to. Alex just nods like this is perfectly normal information. That must be complicated, Alex says. Being a police officer and queer, there's not exactly a great history of police departments being safe spaces for queer people. There isn't, Ryan agrees. But things are slowly changing. My department has diversity training. We have anti-discrimination policies. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. And you? Alex asks. Are you out at work? No, Ryan says honestly. I keep my professional and personal life very separate. Is that working for you? Alex asks, and it's not a judgmental question, but it's a direct one. Ryan considers lying. He considers offering some platitude about how it's fine, how compartmentalization is just a practical choice. Instead, he tells the truth. Not particularly, Ryan admits, but it feels safer than the alternative. Safety is important, Alex says. But so is authenticity. And the two don't always have to be in opposition to each other. They talk for the next hour. Alex tells Ryan that he works as a therapist specializing in LGBTQ+ mental health. He tells Ryan about his practice, about the kinds of clients he works with, about his belief that visibility, gradual, intentional visibility, is part of healing. Ryan finds himself talking more openly than he usually does. He talks about his job, about the specific loneliness of being closeted in a workplace, about his fear that if he came out, it would fundamentally change how his colleagues perceived his competence. Or, Alex says gently, it might change how you perceive your own competence. You might discover that people's respect for you isn't dependent on you hiding who you are. That's very therapist of you, Ryan says. I know, Alex says, and he smiles. Occupational hazard. As the evening progresses, they move from the bar to the dance floor. Alex, who apparently has no fear of visibility or judgment, pulls Ryan into the crowd of dancers. It's not a romantic dance. There's nothing overt about it. But it's intimate in a different way. It's about Ryan learning that he can exist in a space where his sexuality is visible and the world doesn't end. When the night begins to wind down, Alex asks for Ryan's number. I'd like to take you to dinner, Alex says. If you're interested. Ryan, operating on instinct rather than careful deliberation, says yes. Their first date is at a restaurant that's definitely not in Ryan's usual neighborhood. It's in the more openly queer part of the city. The part of town where openly gay couples can hold hands without causing a scene. Ryan experiences a particular kind of anxiety about this, aware that he's being taken to a place where visibility is expected rather than optional. But he also shows up. He meets Alex at the restaurant. He sits across from Alex at a small table and talks about his life in ways that feel more honest than usual. I grew up in a very traditional family, Ryan tells Alex over dinner. My parents are immigrants. They had very specific ideas about what their son should be. Police officer was one of them. Respected profession, stable income, good benefits. Gay wasn't even on their radar as a possibility. It still isn't, really. Have you told them? Alex asks. No, Ryan says. And I don't know if I will. My parents are in their 70s. I don't know if it's fair to disrupt their understanding of their own son at this stage of their lives. Is it fair to yourself to keep hiding? Alex asks. And again, it's not judgmental, but it's a genuine question. I don't know, Ryan says. I haven't figured that out yet. Over the following weeks, they go on more dates. They go to movies. They go to coffee shops. They eventually, tentatively, start spending time at Ryan's apartment, which is in a more conservative neighborhood, and therefore feels safer in certain ways, but also more complicated, because it's forcing Ryan to integrate different parts of his life. The physical intimacy progresses slowly. They kiss for the first time after their fourth date, and it's both less dramatic and more meaningful than Ryan expected. It's just a kiss, warm, gentle, genuine, but it represents something significant. Ryan choosing visibility, choosing vulnerability, choosing someone other than his carefully maintained professional self. I need to tell you something, Alex says one evening, as they're lying in bed together. The kind of intimate moment that comes after physical connection. What? Ryan asks, feeling a small spike of anxiety. I'm falling in love with you, Alex says. And I need you to know that I understand the complications. I understand that you're not out at work. I understand that you're managing a lot of conflicting identities. But I need you to also understand that I can't stay in a relationship where I'm a secret. I need you to be moving toward integration, toward honesty, even if it's slow. Ryan feels something shift inside him. It's the moment where he has to choose. Continue in the careful compartmentalization that's kept him safe but lonely, or take a risk toward authenticity. I love you too, Ryan says, and I hear what you're saying. I need to think about what that means for my life. The crisis comes in the form of a case that forces Ryan's hand in ways he didn't anticipate. He's assigned to investigate a hate crime, an assault on a young gay man in a neighborhood known for LGBTQ+ residents. The case is high profile, and it's generating attention from city officials, from community organizations, from media outlets looking for a story. Ryan's captain calls him into his office. I want you to take point on this, Captain Morrison says. You're one of my best detectives. You know the community. You can approach this with sensitivity. What the captain doesn't say, but what Ryan hears anyway, is, you understand this community in a way the rest of my team doesn't. Ryan accepts the assignment. He starts investigating, and in the process of investigating, he finds himself increasingly present in the queer community spaces, community centers, bars, support groups. He's there in an official capacity, but he's also there as someone who understands these spaces as more than just crime scenes. Alex, who works with some of the victims and affected community members, notices Ryan's presence. One evening, after Ryan has attended a community meeting, Alex approaches him. People know you're here, Alex says. People are wondering who you are, what your stake is in this. I'm investigating a crime, Ryan says. Yes, Alex says. But people are also wondering if you're one of us. If you're a closeted police officer, or just an ally, the question sits between them, uncomfortable and necessary. I don't know how to be both, Ryan admits. I don't know how to be a police officer and openly gay in my department without losing credibility, without losing the respect I've earned. And what are you losing by not being both? Alex asks gently. The investigation eventually leads to arrests and convictions. Ryan's work is recognized as exceptional, as showing particular sensitivity to the community and particular skill at investigation. He gets commended by the captain, by the chief of police, by community leaders. And something shifts. The positive attention for his work in the queer community creates a kind of opening. It becomes harder to hide his stake in this work, harder to pretend he's just an ally. People start asking questions directly. After the case concludes, Ryan's partner on the force, a detective named Sarah, who he's worked with for 5 years, asks him to grab coffee. I know, she says simply, once they're alone in the coffee shop. Know what? Ryan asks, though he knows exactly what. That you're gay, Sarah says. I've known for a while, and I'm telling you this. Your secret is safe with me, but also, you don't have to keep it. You're a good detective. That's not dependent on who you date. It's such a simple statement, but it feels monumental. Someone at work knows, and the world hasn't ended. Does anyone else know? Ryan asks. I don't think so, Sarah says. But people are starting to wonder. You've become increasingly visible in the queer community. You're talking openly about LGBTQ+ issues in meetings. You're advocating for better policies around how we interact with queer victims and witnesses. People are starting to connect the dots. That evening, Ryan calls a family meeting with his parents. He tells them that he needs to talk to them about something important. They sit in his childhood home, in the living room where he's never quite felt entirely comfortable, and Ryan tells them the truth. I'm gay, he says. I've known this for a long time. I've been hiding it because I was afraid of how it would affect your understanding of me, your pride in me, your perception of our family. But I can't hide anymore. I can't live split between who I am at work and who I am in my personal life. His parents' reaction is complicated. His mother cries, though Ryan is never entirely sure if it's tears of sadness or something more complex. His father is quiet for a long time. Finally, his father says, I want you to be happy. If being honest about who you are makes you happy, then I support that. Your mother and I will need time to adjust, but we love you. That doesn't change. It's not perfect. It's not the enthusiastic celebration that some people get when they come out. But it's acceptance, and it's love, and it's enough. The following week, Ryan formally comes out at work. He sends an email to his department, explaining that he wanted to share something personal. He's gay, and he's been closeted for his entire time at the department because he was concerned about how it would affect his professional relationships. But after reflecting on recent cases and recent conversations, he's realized that his work is stronger when he's authentic, and his relationships with his colleagues are stronger when he's not compartmentalizing who he is. The response is overwhelmingly positive. There are a few people who seem uncomfortable, but mostly there's acceptance. Some colleagues share that they have gay family members. Some apologize for comments they've made in the past that they now realize were inappropriate. Some simply acknowledge that this changes nothing about Ryan's status as a good detective and a good person to work with. Captain Morrison calls Ryan into his office and says, "Thank you for trusting us with this. I know it wasn't an easy decision, and I want you to know that you're protected. If anyone has an issue with who you are, they come to me. Understood?" "Understood," Ryan says. "And thank you for that." After coming out at work, Ryan's relationship with Alex transforms into something more open, more integrated. Alex comes to departmental events. They hold hands in public without fear. Ryan brings Alex to his parents' house for dinner, where his mother has clearly been preparing by looking up queer culture on the internet and is trying very hard. Even if her efforts are somewhat misguided, their physical relationship deepens as well. The tentative kissing and careful touches evolve into something more confident, more passionate. They make love with the kind of ease that comes from genuine connection and mutual desire. There's no performance, no hiding, just two people who've chosen each other being completely present with each other. One evening, as they're lying in bed after making love, Ryan says to Alex, "I can't believe I spent so many years running from this. From happiness. From you." "You weren't running from me," Alex says gently. "You were running from yourself. And now you're not. That's what matters. I love you," Ryan says. "I know," Alex says. "And I love you too." As part 1 concludes, Ryan has moved from compartmentalization and hiding to integration and authenticity. He's come out to his family, to his colleagues, to himself. His relationship with Alex has transformed from something tentative and hidden into something open and genuine. But they're also aware that love doesn't exist in a vacuum. Building a life together will require navigating the real world, continuing to come out in various contexts, managing his family's ongoing adjustment, learning to integrate his professional and personal identity in ways that feel authentic. The foundation is there, though. The foundation is love, honesty, and the choice to keep choosing each other. Part 2 opening, 6 months later. 6 months after Ryan's official coming out, he and Alex have moved in together. It's a conscious decision, not rushed, but deliberately chosen. They found an apartment in a neighborhood that's safe, that has a real community, that feels like theirs. They've furnished it with pieces that represent both of them. Alex's therapy books mixed with Ryan's police procedurals, photographs of both families, art that matters to them. Ryan's life has fundamentally changed. He's sleeping better. He's less anxious. He's present in ways he wasn't before. At work, he's actually more effective because he's not spending mental energy on maintaining a false presentation. His colleagues have largely adjusted to this new version of Ryan, and some have actually become closer friends. But integration is not without its complications. The first real complication comes when Ryan's case file becomes part of a civil rights lawsuit. A former colleague, someone who was fired for discriminatory behavior, is suing the department, claiming that his termination was unfair. In the discovery process, internal emails come to light, and those emails reveal conversations about Ryan's coming out, including a few comments that, while not explicitly discriminatory, suggest some discomfort. The lawsuit doesn't specifically target Ryan, but he's aware that his visibility has made him a potential witness. It's uncomfortable, but it's also manageable. The second complication is more personal. Ryan's mother, who has been trying genuinely to adjust to Ryan's queerness, does something that comes from a place of love, but that's also deeply complicated. She starts treating Alex like he's somehow fragile or needs special care. She asks questions that are well-meaning, but also invasive. She treats Ryan's sexuality like something he's had to overcome, rather than something he's simply integrating. One evening, after his mother has spent the entire visit asking Alex increasingly personal questions about their relationship, Ryan talks to Alex about it. "She's trying," Alex says gently. "She's trying to understand something that doesn't fit her previous framework for understanding you. It's going to take time." "It shouldn't be your job to help her understand," Ryan says. "I know," Alex agrees. "But I'm also aware that she's your mother. And your relationship with her matters to you. I'm willing to be patient with her learning process if you're willing to advocate for boundaries." Ryan has a conversation with his mother. It's direct but kind. He explains that while he appreciates her effort to understand, some of her questions and approaches are making both him and Alex uncomfortable. He asks her to treat him and Alex like she would any of her children and their partners, with love and respect, but also with appropriate boundaries. His mother's response suggests she genuinely didn't realize how her behavior was being perceived. She apologizes and commits to being more thoughtful about how she approaches these conversations. At work, Ryan is given new opportunities because of his visibility. He's asked to serve on a committee for police reform and community relations. He's asked to mentor younger LGBTQ+ officers who are coming out. He's asked to speak at community events about his experience of being a queer police officer. It's rewarding work, but it's also a lot of emotional labor. He's not just doing his job as a detective anymore. He's also a representative, a symbol, a voice for a community within his department. You're allowed to set boundaries. Alex reminds him when Ryan expresses overwhelm about the demands on his time and energy. "You don't have to say yes to everything, but if I don't, who will?" Ryan asks. "Someone else," Alex says. "And that person will have their own relationship to the work. Your job isn't to be everything to everyone. Your job is to be authentic in your work and to advocate where you can and to take care of yourself in the process." Ryan starts saying no to some opportunities. He maintains his mentorship role with younger officers because that feels meaningful to him. But he stops serving on every committee. He stops speaking at every event. He reclaims some space for just being a detective, not a representative. The deeper integration as the year progresses, Ryan's professional and personal lives become increasingly integrated in healthy ways. His colleagues know that he's in a committed relationship with Alex. They've met Alex at departmental events. Some have become actual friends, not just colleagues. This integration means that when Ryan has a difficult case, he can talk about it with Alex, who understands both his professional challenges and his emotional needs. It means that when work events happen, Ryan doesn't have to pretend to be someone he's not. It means that the different parts of his life are finally in conversation with each other, rather than existing in complete separation. One evening, at a departmental holiday party, Sarah, Ryan's partner who discovered his secret so long ago, corners him and says, "I'm really proud of you." "For what?" Ryan asks. "For being brave enough to live your actual life," Sarah says. "For not letting fear dictate who you present to the world. For showing the rest of us that integration is possible, even in a profession that can be resistant to change. It's a small moment, but it means something. It means that his visibility has potentially made it easier for others. It means that his choice to come out might have ripple effects that help people he hasn't even met yet." The relationship deepens Ryan, and Alex's relationship continues to deepen through this period of integration and adjustment. They learn each other's families in ways that go beyond just meeting. They develop shared rituals: Sunday morning coffee while reading the news, cooking dinner together on weeknights, planning vacations and adventures. Their sexual relationship evolves as well, becoming more confident, more playful, more genuinely reflective of their emotional intimacy. There's no performance, no hiding. Just two people who've learned each other's bodies and desires and vulnerabilities. One evening, as they're lying in bed after making love, Alex says, "I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about it before you answer." "Okay," Ryan says. "I want to move toward marriage," Alex says. "Not immediately, but eventually. I want to formalize this commitment. I want the legal recognition and the emotional statement of it. But I also want to make sure that you want that too, and that you're not saying yes just because it's what I want." Ryan doesn't answer immediately. He thinks about what marriage means, what commitment means, what it means to build a life with another person in a way that's formalized and witnessed and real. Yes, he says finally. I want that too. I want to marry you. 3 months later, Ryan proposes. He plans it carefully but not elaborately. He doesn't want some grand public gesture. He wants something intimate and meaningful that reflects who they are. He proposes at the community center where they met at the Pride Gala. He's arranged with the center's director to have access to the space for an evening. He's created a playlist of meaningful songs. He's written vows and has them memorized. When Alex arrives, thinking they're just going to the community center for an event, Ryan takes him to the gymnasium, which is set up with lights and flowers and their favorite things. He plays music. He tells Alex about the moment he first saw him dancing alone, about how he knew in that moment that something important was about to happen. Then he gets down on one knee and asks Alex to marry him. Alex says yes immediately, tears streaming down his face, and they kiss in the middle of the gymnasium, the space where their story began. The wedding. Their wedding happens a year later, which gives them time to plan, to invite their families, to integrate their lives in yet another way. It's a small ceremony, about 100 people, including Alex's family, Ryan's family, their colleagues, their friends, people from the community who've become important to both of them. Ryan's mother cries during the ceremony, and Ryan is fairly certain these are happy tears. His father and Alex's parents both give speeches about the value of love and commitment and authenticity. Sarah, as Ryan's best person, tells stories about Ryan and makes everyone laugh. The vows Ryan and Alex write are personal and specific. They talk about the journey they've taken together. They talk about choosing each other even when it was complicated. They talk about the future they're building. I promise, Ryan says, to keep seeing you the way you saw me when you asked if I was okay with being invisible. I promise to advocate for integration in my own life and to support you in advocating for integration in yours. I promise to keep choosing you every day, even on the days when choosing is hard. I promise, Alex says, to be patient with you as you continue to navigate the complexities of being a queer police officer. I promise to celebrate your growth and your courage. I promise to build a home with you where you can always be authentic. I promise to love you not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday moments that actually matter most. The aftermath in the year following their wedding, Ryan and Alex settle into a new rhythm. They're married now, which is both a big deal and also just how their relationship continues, with the same love and commitment that existed before, but now with legal recognition and the formality of a public commitment. At work, Ryan continues his evolution. He's promoted to senior detective, a position that comes with more responsibility, but also more autonomy. He uses that autonomy to push for better policies regarding how the department handles cases involving queer victims. He mentors younger officers, he advocates for reform, but he also maintains boundaries. He doesn't let his work consume his personal life. He comes home to Alex, they have dinner together, they spend time with friends, they take vacations, they live a life that's balanced and authentic. One evening, about 2 years into their marriage, Alex suggests something that Ryan initially resists, but eventually embraces. They should consider fostering, potentially adopting, children. We could provide a home for a kid who needs one, Alex says. And I think you'd be a great parent. I don't know if I'd be a great parent, Ryan says. I've never really thought about having kids. You don't have to decide now, Alex says. But I want you to think about it. I want you to consider what a life with kids might look like for us. Ryan does think about it. He talks to his mother, who is surprisingly enthusiastic about the idea of being a grandmother. He talks to Sarah, whose sister has 3 adopted children. He talks to other cops who are parents. And he gradually comes around to the idea they start the foster to adopt process, which is lengthy and complicated and requires significant introspection about what kind of parents they want to be. But it's also meaningful work that matters. By the end of the process, they've become the foster parents of an 8-year-old boy named Marcus, whose previous home situation was abusive and neglectful. Marcus is scared and angry and beautiful in his broken way, and Ryan and Alex commit to helping him heal. It's not easy. Marcus has trauma that manifests as behavioral challenges. There are moments where Ryan questions whether they made the right decision. But there are also moments, usually small ones, where Marcus lets his guard down. Where he shows affection, where he seems to understand that he's safe. 3 years into their marriage, 5 years after their first meeting at the Pride Gala, Ryan sits in his office at work and reflects on how much has changed. He's out. He's married. He's a parent. He's living an integrated life where his sexuality isn't something he compartmentalizes. It's just part of who he is. He thinks about the version of himself that existed before Alex. Before coming out, before integration. That version was safe in certain ways, but he was also deeply lonely, deeply disconnected from his own authentic self. He thinks about the choice he made to say yes when Alex asked for dinner. That choice, made in a moment of vulnerability, changed everything. It led to love, to family, to a life that's genuinely fulfilling. His phone buzzes with a text from Alex. Marcus's teacher says he did great at show and tell today. He talked about how you're a detective. Very proud. Can't wait to see you tonight. Ryan smiles. This is his life now. This is what authenticity looks like. A job he loves, a husband he adores, a kid he's learning to parent, a community he's integrated into, a self that's finally whole. 5 years after they first met, Ryan and Alex return to the Pride Gala. They go as volunteers this time, helping to organize the event, supporting the LGBTQ+ youth services that the gala benefits, standing in the gymnasium where their story began. Ryan thinks about the distance they've traveled. He thinks about the moment when he first saw Alex dancing alone, when he made the choice to break his careful distance. He thinks about every choice since then, the choices that led to integration, to authenticity, to this life they've built together. Alex finds him and takes his hand. Thinking about anything in particular? Alex asks. Thinking about how much has changed, Ryan says. Thinking about how terrified I was to choose this life and how glad I am that I did. No regrets? Alex asks. Not a single one, Ryan says. They kiss in the gymnasium, the space where their story began, and then they return to the work of the evening, helping to create a space where other LGBTQ+ people can celebrate themselves, can be visible, can begin their own journeys toward authenticity. This is their story. It's a story about visibility and visibility, about the courage it takes to live authentically, about the beauty of choosing someone and choosing yourself simultaneously. It's a story about how love can transform not just a relationship, but an entire life. And it's a story that's still being written, because their journey together is far from over. They have years ahead of them. Years of parenting Marcus, years of marriage, years of growing together. But the foundation is solid. The foundation is love, authenticity, and the choice to keep choosing each other.